Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you very much for joining us today uh, in the first technical session of International Water Conference that is themed this year as Circle of Blue Water for Life and Survival. So today's session is about today's session is about H2O podcast, and today we have one presentation from Dr. Rashid Aftab Saab. He is the director of Rafa International Institute of Public Policy, and then we have 11 technical presentations, which are basically papers from different dimensions of H2O or water. It includes, for example, ranging from very technical wastewater treatment focused papers to desalination, and then indoor and air quality in terms of microorganisms, and then a need for sustainable development, groundwater resources, and many more. So these 11 presenters will be presenting, and we have decided that each presenter will have 10 to 15 minutes to present, and thereafter we will have a question and answer session. So Dr. Saab, is this arrangement fine with you?
Yes, yes, sir. This is fine, and I think we have to conduct the question answer session at the end of the session.
At the end of the, and
Yes,
there is. I would also like to add that there is a raise hand function at the left down corner, and if anybody has any question, they can raise their hand, and in order of priority, the first come first serve basis, we will allow participants to ask the question. So with this smaller note on arrangements, I would invite Dr. Rashid Aftab Saab to deliver his presentation on water policy 2018 for Pakistan. Thank you, sir. Dr. Saab, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Junaid Memon Saab. Thanks to all the participants. My presentation is with respect to Pakistan National Water Policy, addressing the loopholes and the way forward. Primarily, what I'm going to discuss with you very precisely, very concisely, in a very specific manner, first of all, obviously, I will give you the concept of the policy and its attributes, which components of the policies are which are much relevant, what are the historical perspective of the various policy instruments. Then I'm going to discuss the current policy, which is at the moment is under the phase of the implementation, which came in April 2018. It's called National Water Policy. Obviously, it is a consensus-oriented policy, which means that all the provinces has agreed on that policy through the Constitutional Forum of Council of Common Interest. What are the gray areas of that policies, and what is the way forward? So my presentation will be. Can you see my presentation?
yes, sir. We can see the screen.
So my first slide is with respect to the policy side. Any of the policy, whether it's a water policy, agriculture policy, health policy, education policy, it has to go through this cycle. The most important thing is the identification of the problem. Identification of the problem is itself a problem. So when we talk about the water policy, we have to identify what are the issues are related with the water quantity, what are the issues are related with the water quality, and those issues to be the part of policy formulation process. Obviously, in policy, the ideal policy formulation process is all the stakeholders has to be taken on board. So when the policy is being implemented, there must not be a friction, whether those stakeholders at the federal level, provincial level, water user, farmers organizations, water user associations. That is the best approach to formulate a policy. And once the policy is formulated, then it has to be adopted. For instance, national water policy was adopted through Council of Common Interest in April 2018. Then now it's a legitimate policy, and it is more. It has a legal coverage as well. And when the policy is adopted, the phase comes implementation. This is very much critical, because the institutions are responsible for the implementation of that policies. Hence, their capacity plays a very important role in implementing the specific initiative of that water policy. And obviously, during implementation and the post implementation, the policy evaluations gives us the gray areas or the gaps exist, and what are the solutions. So this is the standard policy process for, and this what I was talking about, and obviously through that policy process, on 24th April 2020, the then Prime Minister, Mr. Hakan Abbasi, and and it was attended, that CCI meeting was attended by all the provincial chief ministers, and they signed that policy. So this is the national water policies that, to be honest, the national water policy speaks about the shortage of water. It speaks about the nexus of water, whether it's a food, energy, or water security by itself, and the commitment of the federal government as well as the provincial government, because after 18th amendment, the subject of water has been devolved to the provinces. So this was very much important, that the commitment from the provinces should have been there. And the policy obviously highlighted the scarcity of water. In the morning session, in the inaugural session, we have already discussed in length about how fragile are our water sources, and how the demand is increasing with the population growth. So there is a huge difference between the supply and demand in context. This policy is 41-page document, and it addresses almost all the relevant issues. When we talk about the relevant issues in context, as I was referring to the identification of the problem. So these are some very important and the critical relevant issues and the problems in context with the water sector. And the policy speaks about these aspects like surface water storage, hydraulic structures, water demand, flooding, infrastructure, hydropower, capacity building, institutional reforms, groundwater, legal regime, investments, ecosystem, agriculture, drought, salt balance, transboundary, desalinization, reuse, drinking, role of both of the governments, federal and the provincials, particularly in context with the 18th Amendment, and the equity of water in context with the social and economic dynamics. These are I think, 14 policy instruments when I was mapping since Pakistan came into being. What are those policy instruments available for us, and what is their historical? In 1947, what happened? Obviously, Indus Basin was a united Indus Basin with India and Pakistan, but that basin was divided in 1947. One part is with Pakistan and other part with India. Then there was a Punjab Minor Canal Act 1905. This was earlier than partition, but still it is being the various clauses is being followed of this act. That is why it is relevant in the present system as well. Then WAPDA Act 1958, which constitute the WAPDA, one of the fundamental role of the WAPDA is to develop the hydraulic structures. Then Indus Water Treaty, it was obviously in 1960, which was the distribution of the 6 rivers. Eastern rivers were given to India and the western rivers were given to Pakistan. In Indus Water Treaty, there is also a mechanism to how to govern that treaty and how to implement the various clauses of the treaty. The governance mechanism for governing this treaty is Indus Water Commission, which comprises of Pakistan Indus Water Commission as well as Indian Indus Water Commission. Then Water Opportunity Accord 1991. This was again a landmark instrument which primarily between the various provinces in which the water, it was decided that which province is going to get how much water during Rabi season as well as the Kharif season. So that is very, and this accord was done to minimize the trust which exists between the provinces in order to supply the equitable distribution of water. And obviously IRSA is responsible, in the River System Authority is responsible for this distribution. Then Provincial Irrigation Development Authorities 97, Pakistan Water Vision 2025, which has got the 7 pillars, and one pillar speaks about the water, food and energy. But then Pakistan Water Resources Strategy 2002, National Environmental Policy 2005, National Water Sanitation Policy 2006, National Drinking Water Policy 2009, Pakistan Vision Water Framework 2010, National Climate Change Policy 2011. Now it has been updated as well. Then last but not least, which is at present available with us, is National Water Policy 2018, for which we are going to discuss further. If we do the analysis of this 41-page document of National Water Policy, in my opinion, that the engineering narrative of the narrative is dominant in the policy. Instead of a governance governance dynamics or a social dynamics or economic dynamics, so more it's a document which has been developed by the persons who have got the engineering background. So which means the hydraulic bureaucracy is more dominant in developing that policies instead of environmental, social, governance interest groups. Second is that the goal settings, the goals in accordance with the issues which I have already highlighted in my previous slides, those goals are not compatible in accordance with the institutional capacity of the respective organizations who has to take the initiatives for achieving those goals. So this is another aspect. And one aspect is that there's that obviously that the infrastructure, technological and behavior path dependence on the continuous irrigation networks limits the transition to high modernized irrigation practices. Still, it is that the irrigation practices are being practiced in accordance with the traditional system instead of efficient and effective irrigation technology-based applications. Further, the institutional reforms under the participatory irrigation management, it was this institutional reforms were carried out after a very extensive deliberations. When we see the decision making resulted, primarily because there are multiple institutions are involved, so it seems to me that there is a duplication of the work as well as there is a rift between the institutions, And ultimately, when there is a rift or the frictions are there, it is at the cost of crop productivity, economic efficiency, equitable distribution of irrigation water among the farmers. Then the primary, this national water policy doesn't speaks about any monitoring system for the indicators to be achieved in pursuance of the progress on the various goals of the policy. This is also, and one component is very important, the policy. There is a lack of policy research. There is no policy doesn't say anything about who is going to and how is going to be conduct the policy research in pursuance of national water policy, so that the research is always done on the evidence based, on the data, which has to be reliable, authenticate, and the comparable data, so that whatever the progress is making, so that the research must complement that. So few of the recommendations which needs to be account for, that there is a need to define the main concerns and a clear quantitative rationale, which is again, unless until you measure something, unless until you gauge something which is more quantitative in nature, it's hard to determine its progress. The approach from a management or there is a need to choose clear approach, either that whatever the initiatives are being taken, either those initiatives are being taken through the management approach or the ideological approach or the socio-political approach, which is very much critical. Then the national research agenda, obviously every country has got a national research agenda that should be consistent with the main policy concerns. So it has to be compatible with the national research agenda as well. And there is a need to establish a policy research center. Unless until a policy research center in context with the national water policy is not established, then the evidence-based policy actions will be a missing connector within the policy paradigm. And then is the water user perspective to be, when we talk about the water user, it means the three main user of water are very important. One is the in the agriculture community, which use about 94% of water. 4% of water is being utilized by the municipal water, which is called as a domestic water. 1% is utilized by the industrial industry. So this the water user perspective has to be highlighted, or that must be account for. This is unfortunate that we consider water as a free commodity, and we use water in the, in a very bluntly manner. We don't conserve water. We don't use the water, which is the main if agriculture is the main sector which consumes the water, the most of the water of our irrigation practices are not in accordance with the crop water requirement of that particular crop, but it is just a so that's why in most of the cases, whatever our cash crops are there, mostly we apply at least 5 times more water, which is not absolutely not needed for that crops. So think about its economic value, think it's about its the other values as well. Then the infrastructure or the institutions, particularly with respect to provincial irrigation drainage authorities, WAPDA, and other water institutions in the public sector. Primarily, more the engineers are dominating these institutions. So there is a need for the experts from other diversified fields or other cross-sectional and inter-organizational is very much required. And last but not least, since the water security is very much important with respect to water security by itself, since there is as far as the availability of water, 5 times per capita availability of water has declined in Pakistan from 1950s to up to 2020. So its security is by itself important. Its security is related with the food security, because 94 or 95% of the water is being utilized in agriculture. If we don't have the water for the agriculture, so our livelihood, our economy, about 19 or 20% our GDP comes from agriculture still, although it has been declined since 1950s, but still because most of the human capital is engaged in the rural economy, which are more engaged in the agriculture sector. So that's why its water security is related with the food security as well. And since it is also related with the energy, cheapest source of energy is produced from the hydro energy. Right now, what we are most of if you see our energy mix, about 60% of the energy is being produced from the fossil fuel, which we don't have. We have to import, whether from the oil or from the gas, and that creates the circular debt, and this circular debts it directly affects our economic growth as well. So we have to focus on the to enhance the hydro energy in our energy mix. Like if you go for the cost of the hydro energy, it is just a 2 to 3 rupees per unit, and if you go to the fossil fuel energy, it goes for 14 to 16 rupees per unit. So think about the billions of the units which we produce and how much it is costing in terms of rupee value or dollar value. So that's very brief sort of a talk or presentation in context with the National Water Policy Instrument, which is under execution at this stage, although about 2 years, more than 2.5 years has been passed, but still we are in the phase of operationalize this policy. Still, we are unable to operationalize these policies through various programs and projects in consultation with the provinces and the federal government and the other water actors. Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair. Dear Dr. Junaid.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. I think before we go for technical sessions, I mean, for your presentation, we may open question answer session for
more than welcome.
Yeah, 1 or 2, 3 questions, and then we will go for more technical questions. Since I am moderating the session, I would just like to ask you one question and one comment on water policy itself. I was with Dr. Ashfaq. He's also today joining us in this session. We in an ACR project, we produced a paper on mainstreaming gender into irrigation, and I see that there is not much in national water policy about gender aspects. They talk about domestic needs. So still I think there are a lot of loopholes. So this was one of the comments. The second and more important is my question. Since you concluded on some comments like we still have to operationalize the policy, I just want your comments on we from Indus Water Treaty to water policy, we built world's largest irrigation system, seemingly without any formal water policy. So when we intend to do something, we even don't need this water policy that we now celebrate very much. That means finally, after 50 years, Pakistan has a water policy. But when people want to do that, we establish a large irrigation system even without any formal water policy. So, what is reasonable to expect from this document and from the direction that it provides in when we see this water action now?
Dr. Junaid, I got your point. I think it's a very valid point. That whether with policy or without policy, do we need a policy or we don't need a policy? It is the issue of the will that what the government decide to do, and even what the government decide not to do. That is also a sort of a policy. But I think you're absolutely right. The largest irrigation network was the Indus Basin irrigation system was developed when there was no policy. But the policy always gives you a roadmap. And it gives you some kind of broader directions. And in some cases, you are not focusing what are the real gray areas exist. Because if you are, so at least you have you need some kind of organic document on which obviously that organic document or the structured document has been developed after undertaking an extensive exercise on the basis of the data available. Whatever the data, we can question about the data, but at least whatever the data is available on the basis of that data. And also it is also important from a legal perspective. That since if you don't have the policy, so Sindh provinces will be doing something else, KPK province will be doing something else, federal government has got different priorities, Balochistan as well. So obviously, at least you have a consensus-oriented documents if you are going to, because you are going to invest through the programs and projects, whether local-driven sponsor or the foreign-sponsored projects. So at least you can avoid the duplication of work, you can avoid the depletion of the resources. So that give you, your second was the gender aspect. You have rightly pointed out, although that was your comment, but still I would like to add, primarily no policy in the world is static in nature. When you execute the policy has to be dynamic in nature. That's why when I showed you the policy loop or the policy process, it is an ongoing process. So whatever the gaps exist, those gaps has to be reflected and to be passed through the policy process, including the gender one. Thank you.
That's up. Let's take 3 questions on your presentation before we proceed for technical session. And for technical session, we will have questions at the end of all technical papers, right? So, audience, please 3 more questions.
Dr. Musab Yusuf here. I want to first of all thank Dr. Rashid Aftab Sahab. He has a very good presentation. I just want to ask 2 questions from Dr. Saab. That as he mentioned that the policy process, for example, identification, formulation, adaptation, implementation, and evaluation. So regarding the national water policy, where we have lacking in this process in identification or formulation till evaluation. So the first question, and the second is a very good thing he mentioned in his presentation, that plenty of organizations and institutions leads toward inefficiency. So it's mean that we discussed mostly with Dr. Saab in our office that Pakistan as a over-legislative country. So Dr. Saab, how we can justify that the plenty of organization leading toward the inefficiency regarding this water policy, as you presented.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad, for your questions. We have to, these both questions are relevant, and I'm going to reply these questions in context with the ground realities. And
Yes,
my answer will be more pragmatic in nature.
yes,
So,
yes,
whatever. Uh, Number one, you that in the policy process, what you have asked me about which stage is a more gray area.
yes,
I think at this stage, since the policies has been adopted, now the policy has to be implemented. I think the most important area is the execution or the implementation of the policy. And whenever we talk about the implementation of the policies, it has to be implemented by the various institutions who are responsible. For instance, if WAPDA is responsible for the hydraulic structures, irrigation, provincial irrigation drainage authorities are responsible for the irrigation to offset the seepage losses and the conveyance losses and transportation losses, or to make the Indus Basin irrigation system more efficient, as IBIS is operating only at an efficiency of 40%. The most important thing, we have to improve the institutional capacity for implementing the policy initiatives. Number one. The second aspect which you has referred, with respect to there are so many institutions, there can be a issue of duplication of that. But I think the institutions are there. We cannot close the institution, or we cannot, at the moment, we cannot merge the institution at this stage. But what we have to do, apply a rational approach, and we have to define the scopes of those institutions in context with the national water policies initiatives. So if we have done it, and then we have to map it, and then we have to allocate it. So that so we can utilize those institutions in a optimum manner. That I think that has to be the best approach. Thank you.
thank you, Dr. Saab. Thank you.
Two more questions from the audience, please.
Go ahead.
You can raise your hand. That is the left side of the. That is on the left down side. You can use that function to raise your hand. Any question?
अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
Walaikum salam.
Please,
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ वाटर मीटरिंग पे क्या कोई आगे प्रोग्रेस हुई है? इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ वाटर मीटरिंग।
अच्छा, वाटर मीटरिंग के ऊपर लाइक that is more related with the water pricing. That whatever water you use, it has to be priced, and so that it must not be considered as a free commodity. That is the you can, if you go to the Abiana tariff, you will be surprised. It is unbelievable. It is such a low tariffs regime is there. You can't imagine. There is a need for revising the water tariffs, not only agriculture in agriculture context, but at level of the domestic level as well. I think you have raised a very important question, and I have asked one of the economists from University of Auckland. He is going to give some deliberation on the water pricing. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Welcome.
Thank you, Munib. Any other questions from the audience? If we don't have any questions, I would like to request Dr. Musab Yusfi to please carry forward the proceedings of the technical papers. Dr. Musafi, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Junaid Saab. I would like to invite, first of all, I would like to welcome all of you to the presenter and the listener to this technical session. The first presentation we have with Muhammad Munib Khan. His
Yes.
topic of presentation is development of envelope curve for Chenab, Ravi and Sutlej River basins and estimation of upper bound. Please, Mr. Muhammad Munib Khan.
Assalamu alaikum ji. My name is Muhammad Munib Khan. I'm currently working
Munib
as a
sir,
senior engineer
screen,
in NESPAC.
thank you.
I'm currently working as senior engineer in NESPAC and also doing PhD from Center of Excellence Water Resources Engineering, UET Lahore. The topic of my research is development of envelope curve for Chenab, Ravi and Satluj river basins and estimation of upper bound. As we all know, the first step when we design a hydraulic structure in a natural stream or rivers, the first step is to determine what will be the maximum discharge or the design discharge which will pass through the structure. So when we design structures on rivers, we have two types of catchments, gauge catchments and the ungauged catchments. In the gauge catchments, we use frequency analysis approach to determine the design discharge and also the unit hydrograph approach. In ungauged catchments, where we don't have the hydrological data like discharge and water levels, we use different other approaches like rational approach, empirical approach, and envelope curves. Now, rational approach, as we all know that the variables have consistent units, and in empirical equations, various researchers have correlated design discharge with the areas, drainage areas or the return periods, and those empirical equations are limited to those areas only. No? So, and the third approach, which is now very common, is the envelope curves. So, various attempts have been made to correlate the peak discharge with the catchment area of the region under assumption of fairly homogeneity in hydrometeorological and basin characteristics. Such curves are known as envelope curves, in which a log paper is used to plot various drainage area versus the design flood or the discharge in QMA. Now, the study area, my study area comprises of river Chenab, Ravi and Satluj river basins. And as we all know that all these three rivers are transboundary in nature. The Chenab river crosses Himalayas and then enters into Jammu and Kashmir and then enters into Pakistan, and it enters into the river Indus at Painat Biraj. The river Ravi is also a transboundary river, and the rights of the river Ravi are allocated to India under the Indus-Water Treaty 1967. And Satluj also is the longest river of the 5 rivers that flow through the historic crossroads region of Punjab in northern India and Pakistan. The waters of Satluj are also allocated to India under the treaty, and the waters of Chenab are allocated to Pakistan. This is the schematic diagram of Indus River system. We can see all the rivers, the mighty Indus flowing, and the tributaries of Indus are Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, and Satluj. Trimul Biraj is located just downstream of the confluence point of Jhelum and Chenab, and Painat Biraj is located just downstream of the confluence point of river Chenab and river Satluj. This is the line diagram of all the 3 rivers which we have studied: river Chenab, river Ravi, and river Satluj. We have given the drainage areas, different nalas or cross drainage structures built on these rivers. 11 stations have been selected for the study, 5 for the river Chenab, 3 for Satluj, and 4 for Ravi. The stations are Marala Biraj, Khanki Biraj, Kadrabad Biraj, Timu Biraj, Painat Biraj at river Chenab, and Sulaimanki and Islam Biraj for river Satluj, and Jasar Bridge, Shadra Bridge, Balloki Headworks, and Snai Headworks for river Ravi. The catchment areas are determined from the DEM model of SRTM data, and GIS people have done this assignment of demarcating the catchment area of all these 3 gauging stations. Now, the methodology, the annual peak flow data of 11 gauging stations for a period ranging from 30 to 89 years, depending upon the data availability, was collected from Irrigation Department, Government of Punjab. The frequency analysis to determine the peak flow for 10, 50, 100, and 1,000 and 10,000 return period was estimated by using the following frequency distribution models. Number one is the Gumbel extreme value type 1 distribution. Number two is the log Pearson type 3 distribution. And number three is the log normal distribution. These are the results of the frequency distribution process. The peak discharge in cubics according to the Gumbel extreme value. This is log Pearson, and 10 years, 50 years return period, 100 years return period, 1,000 years return period. The discharges are given in the table. Now, this is the summary of the recommended frequency types. You can see that Gumbel extreme value distribution has been used all over the world. Like India, it's common. It's in Bangladesh, it is very common. Australia, and all over the world, Gumbel extreme value type distribution is very common. And we have also used the design discharge as evaluated from the Gumbel extreme value, because here in Pakistan, the barrages have been upgraded, and the design discharge for those barrages, 100-year return with 100-year return period, have been evaluated by using Gumbel extreme value method. So in our study, we have used the Gumbel extreme value method. Now, two types of curves have been used in this study. The number one is the Krieger's curve, and number two is the Dickens formula. Krieger's curve, the discharge is given by this relationship. Discharge is in cubics. A is the drainage area in square kilometers, and CC is the Krieger's coefficient, regional coefficient. And the other formula is Dickens. Dickens proposed the following form of the catchment flood peak relationship for the region of central and north India catchments. Like Q is equal to C, A raised to power 3 by 4. A is the catchment area in square kilometers, Q is the maximum discharge in cubics, and C is the coefficient varying from 2.8 to 28, depending upon the location of the place. So for the development of envelope curve, we have available flood peak data of 11 gauging stations on river Chenab, Ravi, and Satluj was collected and plotted on log graph paper as flood peaks versus catchment area. The result is this resulted in a scattered data plot. Then plotted points were enveloped by a smooth curve using linear relationship between peak discharge and the area of the respective catchment. These are the results and discussions. This is the combined envelope for peak discharges. This we have plotted a peak discharge which were observed and on a logarithmic graph paper by having peak discharge on the y-axis and drainage area on the x-axis. And we have developed a linear relationship by using regression analysis. And this is the equation you can see on the right side. The outer envelope curve shows a decreasing trend of peak discharge. There is a decreasing trend, you can say, of peak discharge with respect to the increasing catchment area. This is because due to the fact that India, being the upper riparian, has built dams on these rivers, and the drainage area adjoining these rivers in Pakistan are subject to less precipitation. Now, the peak discharge evaluated through the above equation corresponding to outer envelope shows that the gauging station on river Chenab, Ravi, and Satluj is noticed that the evaluated discharge is somewhat closer to the in case of river Chenab, but the evaluated discharge through outer envelope curve in case of Ravi and Satluj gives very high values as compared to the observed values. So thus it was decided to develop envelope curves separately for river Chenab, Ravi, and Satluj. For river Chenab, the envelope curve was established separately for the following reaches. In Chenab River, we divided the Chenab River in 3 reaches. The one reach is the upstream of the confluence point of river Jhelum and Chenab, and the other 2 were the reach from Trimu Barrage to the Painat Barrage, and from Painat Barrage to the confluence point of river Chenab and river Indus. So these were the 3 reaches we adopted for the study.
Munir, 3 मिनट रह गए हैं आपके।
जी जी सर, बस ये एंड होने वाली है। डिजाइन डिस्चार्ज estimation through Krieger and Dicken envelope. This is the area we have through back calculation or hit and trial method. We have evaluated the Krieger's coefficient for 100-year return period flood and for 1,000-year return period flood. You can see as we move from west to eastern rivers, there is a decline of Krieger's coefficient from 2.65 to 2.1. And also for 1,000-year, there is a decline of 3.7 to 1.4. And the Dickens coefficient ranges from 14.25 to 5 for 100-year return period flood, and from 19.75 to 7 for 1,000-year return period flood. And these are the peak discharges observed, peak discharges from frequency analysis, from Gumbel extreme value. These are given in this table. Now, as I already mentioned, these are the graphs for river. This is the envelope curve for river Chenab. This is the envelope curve for river Satluj. And this is for Ravi. Now, conclusions. Envelope curves for maximum flood of the Chenab, Ravi, and Satluj river basins can be used for flood estimation studies in these river basins, because it seems to provide more realistic discharge estimation as compared to empirical formulas which are applicable only for small catchments. This study shall highly be useful for determination of design flood discharge for hydraulic structure design of bridges, cross drainage works across river Chenab, Ravi, and Satluj. Consequently, the developed curves and models could be used for efficient, safe, and precise hydraulic structure design in Chenab, Ravi, Satluj river basins in Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you, Muhammad Munib Khan. A very good presentation. This is, I think, a very contemporary, a very rising issue as discussed in the today's inaugural session about the flood, that most of the water are wastage are because of the flood, that we have no appropriate mechanism how to store the flood water or the wastewater. So this is, I think, that will contribute in the policy making in a very well manner. Thank you. Again, the next presenter we have, before I going to call the next presenter, I want to make a request that we have a very limited time, and we have a long list of the speakers, of the presenters here. So please be precise in your presentation, and utilize the minimum time if as you can. So the next presenter we have Huda Kamal and Imran Hashmi. They have the topic of their presentation is analysis of biofilm formation along the surface of galvanized iron pipe in a drinking water distribution system.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Huda Kamal and I'm an MS research student of Dr. Imran Hashmi from Institute of Environmental Sciences and Engineering in National University of Sciences and Technology, NUST. I will be presenting upon the analysis of biofilm formation along the surface of galvanized iron pipe in a drinking water distribution system. My presentation will cover a brief introduction to NUST, some of the key legislation and regulatory authorities, the situation of water in Pakistan, drinking water distribution systems, biofilms, iron, some of the related work which has been done at IESC, case study regarding my research, some recommendations, conclusion, and in the end, references. First of all, a brief introduction to National University of Sciences and Technology. It has 29 years of excellence, 19 constituent schools and colleges, 7 campuses in 5 cities. The dominant subjects are engineering and technology, but it do also have its multidisciplinary strengths. These are some of the disciplines which are studied here. NUST constituent institutions. It covers some of the military colleges. Its H2O campus also have numerous schools, centers, and institutes. Other campuses are like NUST Balochistan campus in Quetta. Now regarding QS World University rankings, it is about 355th in the world, 76th in Asia, 41 in young world universities, and it is #1 in Pakistan and #1 in 3 subject areas like electrical and electronic engineering, computer science and information systems, mechanical, aeronautical, and manufacturing engineering. SDG engaged university. NUST has embarked upon SDG alignment in all functions, addressing 17 sustainable developmental goals. And NUST is among the pioneering universities in Pakistan to become SDG engaged university. In 2002, NUST has been ranked 201 to 300 according to the University Impact Rankings, and the universities participated were 768 and countries participated were 85. Regarding my research, my research falls under the Sustainable Development Goal 6, Clean Water and Sanitation, in which already 18 research projects, 798 publications, and 13 patents have been achieved so far. So some of the key legislations regarding water in Pakistan are National Water Policy, National Environmental Policy 2005, National Water Policy 2018, Sindh Municipal Water Act 2012, Punjab Municipal Water Act 2014, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Water Act 2020. Some of the regulatory authorities regarding water in Pakistan are Punjab Abipak Authority. Their primary goal is to provide safe and clean drinking water to more than 70 million population in 36 districts of Punjab province, mainly in rural, urban, semi-urban and peri-urban areas. Number second is Pakistan Standards and Quality Control Authority. The function of this authority is to foster and promote standards and conformity assessment as a means of advancing the national economy, promoting industrial efficiency and development, ensuring the health and safety of public and protecting the consumers. Pakistan Standards and Quality Control Authority for clean and safe drinking water has given Pakistan standards for drinking water quality. Now, what is the situation of water in Pakistan? Pakistan is a water-stressed country. Third main problem of Pakistan is the unavailability of clean drinking water. 78% of the population, it is forced to drink dirty and polluted water. 70% Pakistani population that is living in rural areas have no access to portable distribution systems. Between 40 to 60% urban population has access to safe and clean drinking water. Polluted water is the root cause of diseases in Pakistan. Drinking water distribution systems. Crucial element for survival during the course of life is to acquire safe and clean drinking water. Drinking water distribution systems, they function to provide clean and safe water for consumers. However, drinking water distribution systems are not free from microorganisms. They nurture viruses, protozoa, bacteria, and flowing water and biofilms. So heading towards what are biofilms? Biofilms, they are comprised of heterogeneous microbial communities which are arranged and fixed in a matrix of extracellular polymers, also referred to as extracellular polymeric substances, which are released by microorganisms. Biofilms are found growing on the surface of pipes in drinking water distribution systems. More than 90% of the microbial biomass is present on the grown pipe wall biofilm. The following figure illustrates that only 1% of the total bacteria population inside the pipe is planktonic, that is free-swimming organisms from bulk solution, whereas 99% of the total population inside the pipe is sessile, that is attached biofilm on the pipe, on the wall of the pipe. Factors affecting microbial communities in biofilms are availability of nutrients, temperature, hydraulic conditions, concentration and types of disinfectants, and pipe material. The most important factor which help in controlling which basically controls the drinking water microbiome is pipe material. Common issues related to biofilms are corrosion of pipe walls, decaying of water quality, and growth of opportunistic pathogens. Microbes in biofilms have highest resistance against treatment and disinfection. Biofilms are responsible for 80% of the infectious and chronic inflammatory diseases caused by pathogenic bacteria. Drinking water is likely to be contaminated with Escherichia coli, Salmonella enterica, Shigella, Pseudomonas, Anabaena species, rotifers, Giardia, and Cryptosporidium. Now, iron. Iron is considered as an important element in the growth and multiplication of bacteria, and it encourages the spread of biofilm. It is stated in many studies that plastic pipes promote less bacterial growth as compared to iron and steel pipes. However, Lin and his co-workers in 2013 reported the growth of biofilm on household taps of three different materials: stainless steel, cast iron, and PVC. It was concluded that taps made up of cast iron had the highest microbial diversity and richness as compared to PVC and stainless steel taps. These are some of the related work done at IESC. Mehreen Khan in 2014, she worked on evaluating the effect of overnight stagnation on the microbial quality of drinking water. These were some of her findings. Then in 2016, Miriam Zafar, she worked on detection of microbial pathogens in drinking water biofilms using PCR. These are her findings. Then Khatija Akhlaq in 2019, she worked on monitoring water quality of filtration plants and comparative analysis of biofilm formation. These are some of her findings. Now heading towards the objectives of my study, physiochemical analysis of drinking water, assessment of radial spatial distribution of microbial biomass along the surface of galvanized iron pipe, effect of pipe material on microbial biomass. Methodology. This study was basically undertaken in the drinking water distribution system of a residential university named National University of Sciences and Technology, NUST in Pakistan. This study is basically divided into two phases. Phase 1 is the physicochemical analysis of drinking water, in which parameters pH, dissolved oxygen, free and total chlorine, electrical conductivity, and total dissolved solids were analyzed. In phase 2, microbial analysis of biofilm formed on galvanized iron pipe was conducted through heterotrophic plate count. Then the morphological identification of grown bacteria, isolation of selected bacteria through strict plate technique, and biochemical identification through gram staining, catalase test, and oxidase test. And in the end, the identification of selected bacterial strain through DNA extraction PCR. As the NUST drinking water distribution system consists of three types of biomaterials: PPR, unplasticized polyvinyl chloride, and galvanized ions with a service age of 1 month to 6 years. Why galvanized iron pipe was selected? The reason was that many studies in the past have proven iron pipes to accumulate more microbial biomass as compared to plastic pipes. Iron pipes provide rough surface for more bacterial attachment. These are some of the properties of galvanized iron pipes. Now, biofilm sampling. A simple sampling location was selected, sampling location was selected, and fire hydrants, which are basically joining distribution lines, was selected as a point to take sample. Circular coupons of selected galvanized iron pipe was inserted that basically hang through a string in the real drinking water distribution system of NUST in the month of October 2019. This was done in order to avoid leakages and ensure feasible sampling. The inserted coupon was extracted after 16 days of insertion for biofilm sample. But for biofilm analysis. For physiochemical analysis, water sample was collected from fire hydrant and following physiochemical parameters were analyzed. pH, dissolved oxygen, free and total chlorine were analyzed on-site. Electrical conductivity and total dissolved solids, they were analyzed in the laboratory. Biofilm analysis. In laboratory, the circular galvanized iron pipe was divided into upper, lower and middle parts by measuring the pipe diameter. Biofilm was obtained from an area of 4 centimeters square from the upper part of the galvanized iron, and the same protocol was used for the middle and lower parts. First of all, swabbing the biofilm from by using sterile cotton buds, then transferring it to sterile glass bottles with sterile glass beads containing 20 ml sterile water, then shaking for 20 minutes to break microbial clusters, and heterotrophic plate count to spread plate technique, morphological identification of grown bacterial species, isolation of selected bacteria through straight plate technique, cell morphology was identified.
Huda, please conclude your presentation.
Biochemical identification through catalase and oxidase tests. DNA extraction in PCR was done then to identify the bacterial strain. It was then sent to Macrogen Clinical Lab, South Korea, and run on BLAST software to check the identify the bacterial species. Results in discussion. Phase 1, physiochemical properties of drinking water. These were basically the results. pH was found to be 7.5, which satisfies the results of Amin in his study in 2012. Then dissolved oxygen found to be 7.9. 7.9 micrograms per liter, electrical conductivity 883 microsiemens per centimeter, which satisfies results in 2012. Free and total chlorine were below the desired limits, and total dissolved solids were also within the limits as described by Akhlaq in study 2014. Phase 2 for radial spatial distribution microbial biomass. In this, greatest microbial biomass was found on the upper and the upper part and the lowest on the middle part, as described, also described in Lewin studies 2016. Now, by looking at this, the reason for why there was more microbial pest in the upper part was that adequate biomass to have good adhesion property, which prevents them from falling or being washed off by flowing water. Lowest one in the middle part in this area has repeated interaction with flowing water. Bacterial diversity was found in the middle part of galvanized iron pipe. Morphology of grown bacterial colonies, size, margins, forms, elevation, texture, and color. This morphology of selected bacteria is as follows, and the cell morphology and biochemical identification was gram positive, catalase positive, and oxidase negative. Pathogens in biofilm, the bacterial strain was found to be Bacillus cereus. It is basically found in food and soil, and it is used to cause food poisoning, vomiting, and diarrhea. Effect of pipe material microbial biomass, it has rough surface, that is why it promotes bacterial growth. Heterotrophic blade ground growth was clearly observed in this study, and corrosion of iron pipes is a result of a combination of chemical reactions that basically promotes the growth of biofilms. Some of the recommendations given by us is galvanized iron pipe should be compared with the rest of the pipes in the drinking water distribution system for better understanding. The age of biofilm should be increased to study any variations in bacterial growth in communities. Third is effect of other disinfectants like ozone and ultraviolet towards biofilm monitoring should be carried out. However, improving water disinfection through proper chlorination is highly recommended to prevent biofilm formation. I will conclude my presentation by saying that safety of drinking water is necessary for the proper functioning of life. From selected physiochemical parameters, only free and total chlorine detected were lower than the required limits. So proper dosage of chlorine should be added. Microbial biomass on the upper, middle, and lower parts of galvanized iron pipe were in the order upper, lower than middle. Diverse bacterial communities, they were found on the middle part of the galvanized iron pipe by indicating the presence of Bacillus cereus. The study states that the middle part of galvanized iron pipe has potential risk for drinking water safety. Benefits and impacts: benefits to public health, policymakers, and academia, impacts at institutional level, national level, and regional level. These are some of the references, acknowledgements, and contact details. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Huda. This is a kind of, I think, a very enormous and you discussed a very alarming situation, especially in the urban areas, that most of the drinking water we using the GI pipe. So I think today I am shocked that we must care about the quality of water that we use in our daily life in our houses. So thank you very much. The next presenter I have, his topic of presentation is better groundwater management to improve rural livelihoods in Punjab, Pakistan. Dr. Muhammad Ishfaq Saab.
Okay, the topic of my presentation is the better groundwater management to improve the rural livelihood in Punjab, Pakistan. And first of all, I would like to acknowledge the ACIAR for providing the funds for these studies. And also, I would like to give my appreciation to the BCRWR for providing good platform to just organize the different partners and for conducting these studies. Basically, this study is being conducted in 3 provinces, that is Balochistan, Punjab, and Sindh, and I will be presenting on the Punjab part. The sequence of my presentation is that I will briefly talk about the background, then the objectives of the study, and the methodology, results, and the way forward. Okay. Pakistan is the 4th largest groundwater extracting country, which is about 9% of the world, and around 5.2 million hectare of land is irrigated by groundwater, which is about 4.6% of the global groundwater irrigated land. Groundwater contributes more than 50% of total irrigation, and in the Indus Basin, 60 cubic kilometer groundwater is abstracted, and what we are getting from the groundwater and the recharge is less. So that's why the level of groundwater is going down day by day. The objectives of this study was to study the socio-economic characteristics of the respondent, to estimate the impact of groundwater management on agriculture productivity and the rural livelihood, and to give appropriate policy recommendations. Methodology, the study area, for this study was Lower Bari Doab Canal irrigation system, and stratified random sampling technique was adopted, and total 469 respondents were selected in this method and were interviewed for getting the required information, both qualitative and quantitative. A binary logistic regression model was also used as one component of the study, and the efficiency analysis, both the technical and economic efficiency of water use efficiency were also estimated by using the DEA analysis method. The sampling structure of the study area in the Lower Bari Doab Canal, two districts were selected. One was Okara and the Sahiwal. Basically, these districts were selected based on the PRAs conducted before the selection of these study areas. So, number of water courses sampled in each site were 6. The number of villages sampled were 3 in both sides. So, it means overall the 6 were selected. The sample population from each distributory from Okara, that is from 1R distributory, 236 respondents were selected. And in case of Sahiwal, that is 11L distributory, 233 respondents were selected. So if we look at the head, middle, and tail reaches of the distributaries, so you can see that from Okara and Sahiwal, so from the head reaches total 155, and from the middle and tail reaches 157 respondents were selected from middle and tail reaches respectively. This is the family structure of the respondents. If we look, the family structure, so the majority of the respondents, they were living in a joint family system in both study areas, that is in 1R and in 11L, that is in Okara and Sahiwal respectively. If we look the age of the respondents, the family size, and the formal education of the head of the households, so you can see that the majority of the farmers, they were in the age of between 43 to 50 years, and the family size. So if we look, so it is 7.82 to maximum 8.4 persons per family members, and the formal education was also around 8 schooling years. Same is the case around for 11. So there was not a very significant difference about the age, family, and others. Okay, these are the form characteristics that the respondents having their own areas and then the rented in, the rented out. And if you look the operational areas, across the head, middle, and tail reaches, so there was not also a very significant, difference in case of 1R. But if we look at the 11L, the operational holdings were larger as compared to 1R Okara side. So the majority of farmers, they were, using a flood irrigation, so they were not using high efficiency irrigation system like bed and furrow or the drip irrigation. But majority of the farmers they had laser land leveling, so we can say that they know how to efficiently use their irrigation water, and so they were using this laser land leveling practices about from 2 to 4 years. So in case of Sahiwal, majority of the farmers they were having older laser leveling, as compared to 1 hour. Here, the people maximum use 2 years and again go for leveling. But in case of Sahiwal, they were taking more time and go for laser leveling. So major crops grown by farmers in Rabi and Kharif season. So you can see the head, middle, and tail reaches, and these shows the number of farmers having wheat and maize and rice, cotton, and sugarcane. The last bar shows that the total. This is a major crops grown by farmers with respect to farm location. That is the head, middle, tail. So these are the number of farmers. So credit accessibility across the distributors, when we asked that what about the credit accessibility? So majority of farmers, they were not availing this, credit facilities either from the banks or from, informal sources. Because farmers, they were of the view that due to, interest, so it is non-religious practices. But what the others, they were the farmers who were availing and these credit facilities. So majority were also saying that it is difficult to get, and this is particularly true for small farmers. If we look at the major production problems, reported by the respondents, the majority of the respondents were complaining about the shortage of water. So farmers, they are not, very much interested that when the system was developed, it was based on about 59% cropping intensity. And now the cropping intensity is more than 200%. And they are using more than 50-60% of groundwater to supplement the surface irrigation water. So the majority of the farmers, they were of the view that this is the major issue, that is the shortage of water, followed by fertilizer and unimproved irrigation facilities, expensive and adulterated inputs, stuff like that. If we look at the benefit cost ratio of crops, so at the middle reaches and the tail reaches, the benefit cost ratio was high as compared to head reaches, which is quite interesting for the studies. This is the results of logistic regression model that the farming experience were negatively affecting, the return, and farming family size were positively, relating to the explanatory variable, which is return. And if we look the education, it was also, but the major variables which were affecting the dependent variables were the information, were the groundwater quality, and were the training by the farmers, and the dual ownership, although it is negatively affecting, which is very interesting because the groundwater quality is not good. And if the farmers own the dual, so they over irrigate the fields, so which is negatively affecting their productivity. And access to credit has a positive and significant impact on so this is the adoption of good management practices. So good management practices were depending on these variables. These are the efficiency analysis results, and this is the overall and head measurement, which is okay.
Dr. Please conclude the presentation if possible.
Why not? Why not? It is very much possible, and I will take only, because I have spent only 13 minutes. So 2 minutes are still there, and within 2 minutes, I will conclude it.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
So what are my conclusions? The conclusions are the average, age of the farmers were 46 years. The majority of farm families were joint family system, and the conventional agricultural practices as intensive use of intensive inputs. This is not external, rather intensive inputs. That is irrigating the unleveled field, and flood irrigation methods were common. And irrigation water shortage mainly occurs in Rabi season. 30% farmers acquire crop inputs through credit from non-institutional sources like commission agents. And the major problems reported in the crop production system were the shortage of water, unavailability of inputs on time, and high prices of inputs and lack of awareness regarding the quality of inputs. The finding of these studies revealed that the farmers of tail end of both distributes had higher financial and economic benefits, and this was mainly due to the availability of good quality water, because the tail is present near the riverside. So the head farmers of both distributors have improved resource use efficiency, and the results revealed that uniform germination, high yield, and financial returns, concentration of inputs, and increase in resource use efficiency are the main advantages of water smart practices. And the results of a logistic regression model revealed that the farm practices economic and social capital, technical training, and the sources of information affect the adoption of water smart practices. So what we could recommend, the adopters of water smart practices, as noted from the analysis, should be held up, and the role model, and the success stories need to be demonstrated, and the government should make certain arrangements for the distribution of good certified seed, particularly for cotton, although it was not a major crop in the area, but cotton seeds was the major issue. The awareness is required for the farmers, and to facilitate the adoption of water smart practices, the government should launch a training program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad Ashfaq Saab. The next presenter, I think Sakina Ahmadani, she is not here. If she is here, so she can respond. Okay, she is absent. So the next presenter, we have Saira Sidhu. Her topic of presentation is water desalination by using graphene incorporated nanofibers membrane.
First, let me introduce myself. My name is Saira Sidhu, PhD scholar in environmental engineering from US Pakistan Center for Advanced Studies in Water, Mehran University of Engineering Technology. So overview of my presentation topic is basically, as all we know, access to fresh drinking water is the main environmental and economical concern of today's problems. There are many reasons behind the unavailability of fresh drinking water. So among them, among them, salinity is one of the major concerns which we are facing in groundwater or surface water. So in this research, the experimental studies conducted for desalination by utilizing the thermal and membrane salt from water. So the main focus is to cut the cost, improve flux rate, and high efficiency of the membrane. This is why membrane water bottles that was polyethylene.
Seems her connection is not stable.
जी सर, मेरे ख्याल में उनका कनेक्शन स्टेबल नहीं है, इसलिए प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है।
आप वीडियो बंद कर दें सारा बच्चे, वीडियो बंद कर दें, शायद बेहतर हो जाए। कैमरा बंद कर दें और स्क्रीन शेयर कर दें। हाँ, कैमरा बंद कर दें अपनी। हमें आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है सारा।
Am I audible?
जी जी जी, प्लीज गो अहेड।
Okay, so this is the membrane electrospinning technique. These are the techniques to synthesize the membrane, that is electrospinning, and also wet phase immersion method. And these are the salinity removal techniques, that is the reverse osmosis process, vacuum multi-effect membrane distillation process, solar thermal desalination, and air gap membrane distillation method that we have used. So scope of the study, the material we have used, that is the reduced graphene oxide polymer membrane that have the superior properties, and the simulation of RGO with extremely suitable with the polyethylene terephthalate membrane. So this procedure can be operated at low pressure and consumption of energy that ultimately make it cost effective and to improve the flux rate. So the polymer will be obtained from the used PET bottle that I have already told, that is abundantly available and can contribute to reduce the burden of the plastic bottle from the environment. So research objectives or hypothesis we can say of my research, that is to fabricate the graphene incorporated nanofibers membrane by electrospinning. Second one is to investigate the water desalination efficiency by developing bench scale simulator air gap membrane distillation. So the methodology is the first a fabrication of nanofibers via electrospinning, then characterization of the nanofibers membrane, that is included SAM, XRD, TAM, UV visible, and then development of pilot equipment. After the development of pilot scale, on which, so this is a pictorial images of my work. Pictorial images of my work. This is an electrospinning unit, nanofiber electrospinning unit, which we have prepared the nanofibers. So this is second one is this is the white one is the nanofibers membrane that we have manufactured. So this is the air gap membrane distillation. Pink T1 or pink shade is hot feed liquid mixture, and this is a porous nanohydrophobic membrane, and there is a gap between hot plate and cold plate. Okay. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So the results and discussion in this research are for the synthetic water samples who are tested in this equipment. On those synthetic samples, the removal of salt ion is very impressive, which encourages to run the real water samples. So this is the pH and TDS removal values, salinity before and after of the experiment. So result in discussions, graphene incorporation has significantly enhanced the structure and properties of the nanofibrous membrane, and optimal concentration of RGO was 5%. Graphene membrane have better efficiency as compared to neat polymer that we have used in manufacturing of nanofibers. The PET plus RGO 5% membrane thickness is 100.2 micrometer to 1.2 micrometer. So this is the front or face side of my prototype. This is the white is white round part is the nanofibrous membrane. So this is the face side or front look of the prototype, and this is a condenser, and this one is the heater, and this one is condenser. So this is the top view of where from this we injected the water in, and by the circulating pump, the water is transferred in the second chamber, and then with the pressure. Then with the pressure and the temperature, the water vapors are passed from this membrane, and with the help of the condenser, the water vapors are collected in the form of droplets that we have conducted the water, which removes salinity. So conclusion of this study is that synthesized membrane is replicated from use bottle, as I already know that is a very greener technology. It is very easy to environment. So from the initial observation, the efficient passing of the vapor from the membrane was found between 60 to 70 degrees C temperature. The initial trial revealed that the composite showed the good desalination, good removal, desalination. The current estimated yield of fresh water from synthetic is at 0.35 liter per 5 hour. So my future recommendation that the equipment can work at small scale, so it can be used at your and at any desalination unit. Keeping in the view of greener approach and energy crisis, the desalination unit can be coupled with solar energy that will reduce the electricity cost. The use of solar energy can increase the demand of portable remote as well as arid areas that is needed. The fabricated composite can also be doped with other nanomaterials to enhance the product that we have used. Fabricated membrane doped with reduced graphene oxide, or we can dope with any other nanomaterial to enhance the productivity of the membrane. So this is all about. Thank you.
Thank you, Saira. The next, I want to make a request again that please be precise in your presentation. We have more 7 to 8 presenter and a very limited time slot. So with due apology, this is a very humble request that be precise. बहुत मुख्तसर रखें, कोशिश करें अपनी presentation को. So the next presenter we have Kainat Ali Rangi. Her topic of presentation is study of urban flood modeling using GIS system, a case study of Qasimabad town, Hyderabad.
I think she's not here.
Okay, sir. So we will move to our next presenter, Mashook Ali Talpur. His topic of presentation is effect and distillery spent wash on channel bed and groundwater quality, case study of Unicol Distilleries District near Purkhas. Are you hear me? Mashook Ali, क्या आप सुन रहे हैं हमें? Okay, I think.
हाँ, लगता है वो नहीं है.
अच्छा सर. So
next को chance.
Next, Danish Ahmad Kokhar. The next presenter is Danish Ahmad Kokhar. Assessment of indoor air quality in terms of microorganism in USPCS. डॉक्टर साहब मेरे ख्याल में दानिश भी नहीं है.
अच्छा.
तो डॉक्टर साहब, I think the next session is the remaining session. You can moderate the session for the next presenters. So
ये हम दानिश कोखर तक चले गए हैं.
जी सर.
दानिश कोखर तक चले गए हैं.
जी सर, दानिश कोखर तक चला गया हूँ, वो नहीं है.
परवेज खालिद साहब है.
जी डॉक्टर खालिद परवेज साहब को फर्दर आप.
जी डॉक्टर खालिद परवेज साहब आप हैं अवेलेबल?
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम, आई एम अवेलेबल.
जी डॉक्टर साहब काइंडली प्रेजेंट करें.
ओके. Just a minute, please.
अपनी स्क्रीन शेयर करें और जितना
जी
मीन
जी.
10 से 15 मिनट के दौरान खत्म करें
So
प्लीज.
is it okay to everyone?
जी जी, we can see your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Pervez Khalid, the Associate Professor at the Institute of Geology, University of the Punjab. So the topic of today's presentation is need of sustainable development of groundwater investigations and monitoring in Pakistan. So basically this presentation is threefold. First is the groundwater resources development, investigation of groundwater aquifer, and then the groundwater monitoring, why and what is the need of monitoring, on how we can monitor, and what are the different sources and parameters which we should monitor, and how this monitoring will be effective. So all of you know that Pakistan is among those countries who are facing water shortage, and this shortage is increasing day by day. So the use of water is increasing, but the water availability of fresh water is very short. So this is a basic need of development of groundwater resources and their monitoring. So first we will discuss about groundwater resources development and investigations, that how we can monitor and develop new groundwater resources and how we can investigate. So water is life. There is no question about that. So because of high demand, and this demand is on domestic basis, agriculture, industry, urbanization, rapid increase in population. So, and the other factor, which is a global environmental change, decrease in rainfall, our rainfall system is totally changed, and rise in temperature, global temperature, and then the contamination. So groundwater resources are highly contaminated by different sources like industrial waste, solid waste, leachate, domestic sewerage, and agriculture pesticides. Or so all these are the basic sources of contamination. So how we can measure the groundwater and aquifer behavior? So the primary goal of groundwater development is to develop groundwater resources on the basis of a policy which already planned, or then the monitor and control impact of abstraction of groundwater on different scales. And so are you hearing me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's monitoring of groundwater abstraction plus groundwater aquifer level is very important for management of groundwater resources at local scale as well as at national scale. So how we can measure or monitor the groundwater? So groundwater abstraction, first it should be monitored, then aquifer water level, which is decreasing day by day, and then the aquifer classification system, which type of aquifer we have, and what are the hydraulic parameters of the aquifer, from where we are taking the water, and groundwater flow system classification, which type of water flow system is present in a local area where we are studying or monitoring the groundwater. So all these combine the management actions which can be to reduce the pumping rate or to develop the groundwater resources. So which type of data we required for groundwater management? So this is a brief summary for the data required for groundwater management. Data type, then the baseline data or time variant data, which is a basically continuous monitoring data. So for groundwater occurrence and aquifer properties, we need hydrological logs, geological information of an area, groundwater levels, quality of water present into the aquifer, and then different geophysical methods which we need to prospect, like vertical electrical resistivity, well and aquifer pumping test after the prospecting of groundwater. And similarly, groundwater level, the decrease in groundwater level with the passage of time when we start production or pumping of water, and then the groundwater quality. And groundwater uses also required for groundwater management. For water well pumping installation, what is the diameter of water well, water uses in countries and population registered or in a local area, and what is the growth rate of population. So on the basis of growth rate, we can predict the future need of groundwater and irrigation energy consumptions, and then the supporting information like climate data, land use, invariant geological maps, etc., river flow. So for groundwater prospecting, this is some type of a flow chart which we generally need for prospecting of a groundwater. So exploration of groundwater basically depends on the surface exploration and the subsurface exploration. Like surface exploration, we use some non-invasive or non-destructive methods to map the subsurface condition of the groundwater aquifer. So geological method, normally we use remote sensing or GIS, surface geophysical method. There are plenty of geophysical methods which we use for groundwater exploration. And for subsurface exploration, we need to test drilling, geological logs, gamma ray, SP logs we run to check the quality of water and to map the permeable and impermeable boundaries. And then again, geophysical logging or borehole geophysics like resistivity logging, spontaneous potential logging, and the temperature logs. So all these logs are we required to check the quality and quantity of groundwater which we find in some tube well or well. So this is a one case study just to show the groundwater prospecting methodology. So this is basically a PhD thesis of one of my student. Just recently he completed his PhD. So the study area is basically Nowshera district of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, where we acquired around 600 vertical electrical resistivity profilings up to 300-meter depth of investigations, and along with the 52 borehole or tube wells data were required. So total number of wells or borehole drilled in only in district Nowshera is more than 2,000. So these are some results on the basis of electrical resistivity. If we define different types of aquifer like clays, sand fishes, or ground sand, gravel sand fishes. On the basis of resistivity, we can say that where we can get the high quality water and where is the saline or water or contaminated water. So these are basically the information we extracted from the pumping test of the boreholes, like discharge rate, drawdown, and time transmissivity, the thickness of aquifer, and hydraulic conductivity. These parameters basically needs before development of a well in any area. So this is a 3D map of the study area showing the distribution of fresh water. Here we are on the basis of electrical resistivity. High resistivity means the aquifer has a fresh or good quality water, and low resistivity means the aquifer has a high salinity. So here we can see that most of the area is comprised by saline water. So this is another case study showing the geophysical characterizations and hydrological conditions of the Bannu area. So this is elevation map. This is the water table elevation and the groundwater resistivity map in two plains of Bannu area, Lakki Marwat and Dumail plains. So on the basis of geophysical and geological information, we interpret the different lithologies and different types of formations or aquifer water saturated strata in the study area, like alluvium fans, lacustrine zones. These are basically depends on the depositional setting when these rocks were deposits. So these are some hydrological parameters of the aquifer which we estimated by using geophysical logs. So again, we can see that there are different areas which have a different quality of groundwater. So some areas have very good quality water, but most of the areas has a saline or mild to saline water. Due to shortage of time, I think I skip this case study 3. So next is groundwater monitoring. So why groundwater monitoring are required? As all of you know that millions of cubic meter water is pumped every year, but unfortunately most of the water is pumped without any type of monitoring. There is no regulation or regulatory body. Although at government level there are 7 regulatory bodies, but on ground realities, no one is monitoring that how much water is pumping per day on from the ground from the subsurface. And there are millions of thousands of users which are non-registered or non-controlled, and hundreds of thousands of wells or boreholes are drilled in every locality of the country, and most of these wells or boreholes have no information registered by the government. And hundreds of sources of pollution are present, either local or natural or domestic or quantitative. So these are basically sources of pollution are contaminated the groundwater, and hundreds of diseases are present. We are caught by these diseases which are due to polluted waters, but no proper record is present. So although many government departments, institutions are present, but there is no joint management system or cooperation to monitor the groundwater abstraction. So this is one example of a depletion of groundwater level in the city Lahore since last 10 years. So water level is depleted up to 30 meters. So one way to make groundwater monitoring visible is reversible interfaces and pumping lift cost increases. So this is some strategies to see to make visible monitoring of groundwater. So this is one conceptual model proposed for the continuous monitoring of groundwater, which can be implemented at local scale, like in some rural areas or some particular urban unit. So groundwater monitoring system have many functions, like basic functions are primary monitoring, secondary, and tertiary. So in primary monitoring, we can evaluate the general behavior of groundwater, like the trends of groundwater level, increasing trends or decreasing, or local climate change and the effect of these local climate change on the groundwater level, and the processes such as recharge, surface runoff, rainfall, flow, and diffusive contaminations can also affect. Similarly, on secondary monitoring, so this is a basically protection of a groundwater aquifer from contamination and other sources, like protection against potential impacts to strategic groundwater resources, well fields, spring heads for public works, urban infrastructure development from land subsidence, archaeological sites against rising of water table, groundwater dependent ecosystems, etc. And the third monitoring system is the tertiary or pollution contamination system. So we should evolve some early warning system for groundwater pollution, like intensive agriculture land use, industrial sites, solid waste landfills, or land reclamation areas, quarries and mines, etc. So these are basically the major sources of pollution of the groundwater. So if we talk about monitoring cycle, so water management, definitely it should be on each scale, starting from local level to the national. And then the definition of informations which we need for the water managements. And on the basis of these definition or informations we required for monitoring or management system, we design some monitoring program. And this monitoring program definitely depends on the data collection and statics and dynamic water levels, water quality, water needs, and the usage of water and abstraction of water in a community. And the last is the data interpretation and dissertations. So this is a basically the complete monitoring cycle which should be adopted not only on local scale but on the national levels as well. So what we can get from the monitoring groundwater resources, water level measuring devices, we need installing tubes, well flow meters, groundwater modeling, remote sensing to measure aquifer thickness, and to measure the decrease in aquifer water level, and then the public access, which is also necessary, the public access to the groundwater data, and then the monitoring of groundwater quality. So the monitoring is basically quantitative and
साहब जल्दी
qualitative.
खत्म करें, आपके 15 मिनट गुजर गए हैं.
Acha, sorry ji. So this is some monitoring techniques which we can adopt. This is a monitoring equipment which is not so expensive, like a monitoring groundwater monitoring kit. We can buy around 1500 rupees, Pakistani rupees. Okay, so I skip all this. So these are some strategy we can use for water saving indoor and outdoor. It's very simple, like starting from our home, we can apply these techniques. So the last, I left some questions on, so is there any dedicated monitoring network in your area or existing production borehole used, or who is responsible for data collection, for storage, interpretation and management of groundwater, and which parameters are monitored and why this choice? Okay, so thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. Next we have with us Atika Nizamani. Her presentation is on removal of arsenic from drinking water using peanut shell biomass. She belongs to US Pakistan Center for Advanced Studies in Water. So the floor is to you, Atika. Please, 15 मिनट में या उससे कम टाइम में पूरा करें.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for inviting me here. So here I'm going to present my presentation. Just a minute. Sir, can you see my presentation?
Ji, bilkul. Please, go ahead.
Thank you so much. So first of all, I want to introduce myself. I'm Atika Zamani, and I'm from US Pakistan Center for Advanced Studies in Water from Iran University. And my presentation topic is removal of arsenic from drinking water by using peanut shell biomass. I worked under the supervision of Dr. Aisha Tajamul and Dr. Zishan Khatri. So here are my table of contents. The introduction, problem statement we are going to define in my presentation. So first of all, I'm introducing that the arsenic contamination. Arsenic is a toxic contaminant that comes from the Earth's crust, and from the Earth's crust, it contaminates the groundwater and also the surface water. And from surface water, we use it both ground and surface water for drinking purpose and for drinking purpose, or we use this for cooking and other purposes. From that, we are getting arsenic in our bodies. So there are many areas in Sindh, Pakistan, where arsenic is present in drinking water more than permissible limits, which are given by the World Health Organization, that is 10 microgram per liter, and long-term use of arsenic contaminated water, or we can say that by using drinking water or by eating that food that contaminates that contain the arsenic, that cause the different health issues such as breast, bladder, and lung cancer and different skin diseases. There are different methods for arsenic removal, but most of them are lab-based or time-taking, or we can say they have a high cost. So we have adsorption is a very easy method, efficient and low-cost method. In our study, we use as adsorption, and for adsorption method, we can use different adsorbent, but here different plants are also used for the arsenic removal as an adsorbent. So here we use a peanut shell, and we can say that peanut is also known as groundnut, and this species belongs to family Fabaceae. Annually, million pounds of peanuts are produced, and their shells become just a agricultural waste. This waste can be useful for different processes and methods. This can be used manufacturing different products such as activated charcoal, silicon, and silicon nitride. And in different research, peanut shell is used for the different crop fertilizations. It can be used as a source of purifier for drinking purpose. It was also investigated that it has antimicrobial and antioxidant activity. So that due to the presence of antioxidant activity, it is applicable for the removal of arsenic. So this is a problem statement. Here you can see some pictures that are showing the skin diseases that are caused by due to the arsenic contaminated water. Long-term of exposure arsenic cause many health-related problems such as skin lesion, lung, kidney, and liver cancer. Arsenic removal techniques are high cost and time taking. So our objective was to determine the efficiency of peanut shell for the removal of arsenic from drinking water. So there are some literature review related to our study, such as Carmen Solin shows that they are used mango leaf powder and rice husk for the removal of arsenic, and they also they are showing that they have efficiency for the removal of arsenic. Mandeep Sindhu also used some low-cost biosorbents such as orange peels, turnip peels, and peanut shell, and they get 86% removal with peanut shell and 88% with the orange peel. And there are other papers, Ali Muhammadi, they also use the eucalyptus for the removal of arsenic as an adsorbent, and they also concluded that it can remove arsenic from drinking water. And Shakur et al. Also used the waste of watermelon rind that also shows that it can remove 99% or 98% of arsenic from drinking water at neutral pH. So here is our methodology. First of all, we collected the plant. Plant peanut shell were collected from local market from Jamshoro. We prepared the biomass. For the preparation of biomass, we washed the peanut shell with tap water, then with deionized water, then dried at room temperature, and then dried in oven. Then we crushed it into pestle, then grind into grinder, and then sieved. So here, peanut shell biomass. This is the shows that we dried at room temperature for 5 to 6 days. We dried in oven for 430 hours at 8 degrees Celsius, and we sieved it with 250 micrometer. Here's that we prepared the stock solution. We used this peanut shell on the synthetic water. So for the stock solution, we used this arsenic standard, and for this, from this we prepared the 10 ppm solution. For that we use 2.5 ml of arsenic solution and 1% of nitric acid water. And then we use 3 different concentration from that stock solution. For 100 ppb, we use 2.5 ml of stock solution. For 150 ppb, we use 3.75 ml of stock solution, and for 200 ppb, we use 5 ml of stock solution. Then batch experiment was conducted. For this, we get 20 ml of solution of each solution, 200 milligram per liter of biomass was used, and the samples were taken. Then samples were taken into the incubated shaker at 200 rpm for 30 degrees Celsius, and then we centrifuged it for 15 to 20 minutes at constant speed, and then we use a syringe filter 0.45 micron. And then we use the ICP-MS analysis for the arsenic analysis. ICP-MS for arsenic analysis. For the batch experiment, we use different parameters. We take 3 concentrations: 100, 150, and 200 ppb. We used different biomasses: 200, 400, 600, 800, and 1000 milligram per liter. We also use different pH, 2 to 9 pH, and pH was maintained by sodium hydroxide and hydrogen chloride for the 1 ml solution. And we also use different time in contact with the biomass. For the percent removal, we calculated this by this formula. Percent removal was is equal to C0 and CT. C0 is the initial concentration, CT is the final concentration of arsenic. So here are our results. First of all, I'm going to show you that we used on the different concentrations. So in different concentrations, we analyze initially we take the 200 milligram per liter biomass at 2 to 3 pH. And for that, we observe that at 100 ppb concentration, final concentration was 69 ppb. It means only 31% arsenic was removed. At 150 ppb, 36% arsenic was present in the final concentration, and 76% was removed. And at 200 ppb, it was again increasing the concentration or increasing the arsenic due to the less active sites on the high concentration. So it didn't show any removal, but it was again showing the additive effect in this concentration. So we observe that it is a high removal concentration is showing at the 150 ppb. So we choose 150 ppb for the further experiment. Here next we use the different biomasses for selecting the one biomass for doses, and then effect of doses were observed at different doses. So, and we can see that 200 ppb at 200 milligram, you can see the percent removal was 76%. At 400 ppb, at 400 biomass dose, 67% arsenic was removed. At 600 biomass dose, 63% arsenic removed. At 800, 52 percent removed, and at 1000 milligram per liter, only 47% arsenic was removed. As we can see that by increasing the dosage, arsenic removal percent is decreasing. So it was due to the overlapping and aggregation of biomass doses, because the solution was constant, so and our arsenic concentration was constant, pH was constant, and but we are only increasing the doses. So that's why we can see that due to the overlapping, as we are increasing the dose, or we are getting the less removal percent. So that's why we choose 200 milligram per liter. Next, in this we can see, you can see we used a different pH, and we can see that at 2 to 9, at almost at all pH we get more than 90% removal of arsenic. And that was because at acidic pH that they are showing the best removal effect. And overall, from overall, only 3 pH show the best removal, almost 92% of removal is showing. That's why we choose a 3 pH for the further experiment. And for the contact of time, we use 5 hours, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. And that was also observed that by increasing the time, we are getting less removal percent. So only within 1 hour, we observe the 96% of arsenic removal. That's why we can say that within 1 hour, we can get the best removal percent from drinking water. So here is conclusion. We concluded that peanut shell biomass is efficient for the removal of arsenic, and efficient concentration. Effective concentration was observed 150 ppb. Different doses were used for the experiment. From that, 200 milligram per liter was selected, was the best effective for the removal of arsenic, and efficient pH was 3 for the removal of arsenic. And 1 hour, within 1 hour, we observe within 1 hour we can get the high removal percent. So by using all these parameters, we get 96% removal of arsenic from drinking water. Here are some future recommendations that we can use. This study further can be conducted on color and taste removal, because by using the peanut shell biomass, we observe that they are leaving some color and taste in the drinking water. So we can work on that. That how can we use how can we remove this color and taste, and we can use other fruit waste which are just using and we are throwing in the waste. So we can use just as lemon peels and mango peels, seed, banana peels, grapefruits, and so many other fruits or other vegetables we can say that contain antioxidant activity. So they can be used for the arsenic removal. So here are some references. Thank you.
Thank you very much for completing in time. Thank you. So now I think we have the last presenter, and she is her name is Miss Rafia Khanzada, and her presentation title is Assimilation and Use of Thiosulfate Oxidating Bacteria (TOB) in vial-based bioassay for the detection of zinc toxicity in water. So, Rafia, over to you. Please try to complete it in 15 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Assalamu alaikum. A very good evening to all. I'm Rafia, master student of Water, Sanitation and Health Sciences from US PICAS W, Mir Jamshuru. Today I'm present my topic with the title of
Very difficult title.
acclimation and use of thiosulfate oxidizing bacteria (TOB) in vial-based bioassay for the detection of zinc toxicity in water. These are the content of my presentation. First, introduction. Biosafety is a biological test to determine the response of biospecies when they exposed to the toxic chemicals. This study used a thiosulfate oxidizing bacteria as bioindicator for the assessment of zinc in water, and the methodology relies on the influence of zinc on top activity, which is the oxidation process. These are the chemolithotroph bacteria, which oxidize the thiosulfate in the presence of oxygen to produce sulfate and hydrogen ion, which reflects by the change in the pH, decrease in pH of the media, and the increase in the electrical conductivity of the media. The inhibition effect of zinc on top biosafety determined by pH, EC, and EC sulfate production, and dose response effect and the EC50 of batch test. Problem statement. As we know that extensive use and dumping of heavy metals in water induce the adverse effect to aquatic system and human health. So it is important to improve the monitoring method to further ensure the safety of both aquatic environment and human health. The objectives were to design the bioreactor for the consistent supply of bacteria for batch test, and the second is to determine the toxicity of zinc in water with different concentrations from 0.25 to 10 milligram per liter. Literature review. These are the different analytical technique for the assessment of zinc in different water sample, which is surface water, industrial water, drinking water, and groundwater. The techniques are atomic absorption spectroscopy, UV visible spectroscopy, ICP-MS spectroscopy. These techniques only determine the concentration of zinc in the water sample, but we also it's important to determine the toxicity of the pollutant on the microbe of that environment. So bias is more efficient and suitable system for the assessment as compared to the analytical techniques, which are complex. These are the application of sulfur oxidizing bacteria, which determine the toxicity of metals, non-metals, and organic pollutants in different sample type, which is water, soil, and industrial effluent. Methodology consists of TNCR, batch test, and analysis. First, it is to fabricate the reactor to acclimate the bacteria for the batch test. This is the thiosulfate master culture reactor, which was fabricated in the 1 liter Pyrex glass, and the span was sludge was used for the as an inoculum, which was used from collected from the pilot scale lab of US PICAS W. For the nutrient mineral buffer, tap water thiosulfate solution is used for the make the reactor volume 500 ml and the incubation temperature is 30 centigrade, and aeration provided through the air pump with the flow rate of 150 to 250 ml per minute. The operational mode of the TMCR was fed batch mode, and the parameter for the monitoring was pH and EC. This is the batch test study for batch study table for the assessment. The 4 components are used: inoculum, distilled water, zinc solution, and thiosulfate solution. For the reactor design, glass valve of 20 ml was used with the incubation temperature of 30 centigrade with a shaking, horizontal shaking at 150 rpm, and with the incubation time of 24 hours, and the parameters for the batch test was pH, EC, and sulfate production. For the analysis, inhibition rate of zinc toxicity was calculated by the given equation. EC and pH was measured by the EC and pH meter, and sulfate concentration in each reactor was determined by the ion chromatography. And the statistical analysis has been done by the Origin Pro software. Results and discussion. As we know that first the TMCR discussion. The basic main purpose of the TMCR is to fabrication of TMCR is to accumulate the top consortium, and the initial bacterial activity was observed in 6 days, and at the fed batch mode the change in the EC was 3000 to 4500, and the decrease in pH was 7 to 2.5 and 2.5. And the change in the pH is due to the formation of hydrogen ion during the oxidation process by the bacterial activity, and the change in the EC due to the formation of sulfate ion. And as we know that electrical conductivity is the ability of the media to conduct the electric current in the presence and which is proportional to the presence of ions of the media. The TMCR was stable in the 60 days, and our overall change in the reactor during the monitoring showed that the oxidizing activity of bacteria was dominant in TMCR. This is a graph that shows the bacterial activity at fed batch mode, and as shows that EC and pH was increased and decreased with respect to the time. This is the zinc batch test experimental results. EC and pH for pH of the media, pH of each reactor was decreased with respect to the increase in the concentration of zinc, and in control with inoculum and without the zinc concentration, the pH of the media easily goes down, and the bacterial activity is maximum in control 2, and EC is also maximum in control 2 without the zinc concentration, and however with increasing the zinc dose, it decreased the change in the EC and pH of the media. This is a sulfate production reaction. It shows that the control, which is contained inoculum but without the concentration of zinc, is the sulfate production is maximum. However, in other reactor which have the different concentration of zinc from 0.25, 0.5, 0.7, 1, 2.5, 5 milligram per liter, and 10 milligram per liter, it decreased with increasing the sulfate production decreased with increasing the concentration of zinc. And this is the inhibition curve. It shows that with increasing the concentration, the inhibition and bacterial activity was observed from 16 to 87%, and the EC50, which was calculated by the Origin Pro, is 1.16 milligram per liter. This is a comparison with other study the other study that used the other bioindicator for the assessment of zinc and water. But the thiosulfate oxidizing bacteria assess the toxicity of zinc with less in 1.16 milligram, which is lower than other bioindicators. And now the conclusion. Spent wash successfully acclimate the top bacteria in master culture reactor with optimum conditions. During batch test of zinc, inhibition in bacterial activity was increased with increasing dose and the exposure time. The inhibition rate was observed in bacterial activity from 16 to 87%, and the EC50 was 1.16 milligram per liter with zinc. And the obtained results were suggested that top bias is suitable and effective bioindicator for the assessment of zinc toxicity in water. These are the acknowledgement and the references. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your nice presentation. And with this presentation, there is anybody who has yet to present and of which we don't know, if they are present or not here. So please, you have a last chance to present. Otherwise, I will open the floor for questions. If no, then I formally open the floor for question. Kindly raise your hand, and we will serve first come first serve basis. Thank you. Any question? कोई सवाल हो? किसी का कोई सवाल नहीं है?
राफिया, ये स्क्रीन शेयर एंड कर दें प्लीज.
अगर किसी का सवाल नहीं है तो मैं एक दो सवाल पूछ लूं.
यस
सर,
सर.
आपके बाद फिर हम भी करेंगे. चले कुछ तो ऐड करें ना.
हाँ, नहीं मैं जो है ना, मैं फिर शुरू करता हूँ अगर कोई नहीं पूछता है तो
मेरे
जी प्लीज क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम.
तो इशफाक साहब ने जो प्रेजेंटेशन दी है उसमें उन्होंने जब बताया है कि कॉस्ट बेनिफिट रेशो टेल एंड वालों का बड़ा है, और इससे मुझे खुद बड़ी खुशी हुई है क्योंकि आपके पंजाब में जितनी भी नहरें हैं और काफी सारी नहरें जो लाइंड हुई हैं, कंक्रीट लाइंड हुई हैं अंडर डिफरेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स, पंजाब इरिगेशन सिस्टम इंप्रूवमेंट प्रोजेक्ट, एलपीडीसी प्रोजेक्ट, तो उसका इनके जो फाइंडिंग्स में रिफ्लेक्ट हो रहा है कि कॉस्ट बेनिफिट रेशियो जो टेल एंड पे है वो बढ़ रही है फार्मर्स के लिए ना, क्योंकि टेल एंड पे पहले ये होता था कि पानी पहुंचता नहीं था ड्यू टू लॉसेस और थेफ्ट, वाटर थेफ्ट. तो इन प्रोजेक्ट्स की इम्प्लीमेंटेशन के बाद जो मैंने ये देखा है कि ये बता रहे हैं कि कॉस्ट बेनिफिट रेशियो एट द टेल एंड फार्मर्स का बढ़ा है, तो वो एक अच्छी बात है.
Could I respond, Dr. Junaid?
Please go ahead, Dr. Saab.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Munib, there are a couple of factors, not only, the lining of the distributaries, but, the main reason, particularly in our case studies area, it was due to the presence of good quality water, groundwater, because the tail is near the river side, although river Ravi is not flowing over there, but after 4 or 5 years we have floods, and when there are floods, the recharge is there. So this is another factor, along with the lining of the distributaries and the uniform distribution of surface water.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Ashfaq, I also agree with you, because if it is the appropriate indicator to say that something is good happening with reference to surface irrigation is delivery performance ratio, that what was your right and what amount of water you actually got. So the ratio of that can be a good indicator. Any other question?
मेरा सर एक क्वेश्चन था मिस सायरा से कि वो ये कह रही हैं कि वाटर डिसैलिनेशन है, वाटर डिसैलिनेशन वो डोमेस्टिक पर्पस के लिए भी है और उसके लिए भी एग्रीकल्चर में भी यूज हो सकती है, उनका जो स्टडी है.
सायरा रिस्पॉन्ड करेंगी इनके सवाल को? सायरा, आर यू देयर? मैं समझता हूँ सायरा नहीं है.
चलिए ठीक है सर, थैंक यू.
ठीक है. कॉन्फ्रेंसेस में ये होता है. और कोई
कॉन्फ्रेंस में तो ज्यादा होता है ना.
वर्चुअल कॉन्फ्रेंस में बहुत ज्यादा कभी मजबूरी भी होती है. मेरे बच्चे भी मुझे खींच रहे हैं कि प्ले विद अस. शाम हो गई है ना. हाँ, तो ये बस मजबूरी है. एनी अदर क्वेश्चन?
डॉक्टर साहब, एक थोड़ी सी मैं मिस निजामानी से पूछना चाहूँगा कि जो उन्होंने काम किया है, तो ये पहले भी क्योंकि इस प्रोजेक्ट में, ग्राउंड वाटर प्रोजेक्ट में भी उन्होंने ये थोड़ा सा हमें बताया था, लेकिन क्या ये कमर्शलाइज होने की तरफ जा सकती है ये टेक्नोलॉजी जो उन्होंने किया है? क्या हाउस होल्ड लेवल पे हम जैसे लोगों को अवेलेबल हो सकती है, या उन एरियाज में पर्टिकुलरली जिधर आर्सेनिक ज्यादा है?
सायरा, निजामानी, मिस निजामानी, आप जवाब देंगी? हेलो,
she also left, I think, after presentation.
हाँ, मैं भी यही डॉक्टर साहब, मेरा भी सवाल ये था कि ये जो मतलब पीनट के छिलके हैं वो अगर इवन कमर्शियली एक मटेरियल अवेलेबल नहीं है ना, तो उनको अरेंज करना भी काफी मुश्किल हो जाता है।
मुश्किल हो जाता है। इसकी कॉस्ट का भी हमें पता चले, और इसका जो ना टेक्निकल एस्पेक्ट तो लोग कर देते हैं, लेकिन जब तक आप उसकी सोशो इकोनॉमिक फिजिबिलिटीज नहीं देखेंगे वो टेक्नोलॉजी अडॉप्ट नहीं होती।
इसी तरह से जो आपके ये मीथेन नहीं बनाते एनिमल डंग से, वो जो बायोगैस, इसके साथ भी हमेशा यही प्रॉब्लम है कि बहुत अच्छा है लेकिन कौन वो जो है ना गोबर लाके वो सारा प्रोसेस करे, ये हमेशा गांव वाले लोगों के लिए मसला होता है, तो वो धुएं में तंग होते रहते हैं लेकिन उसको यूज नहीं करते। सो मैं समझता हूँ इस तरह के सवाल जो है ना, अब नेक्स्ट जो फेज इस रिसर्च का है, मैं इसलिए ये डिस्कस कर रहा हूँ कि ये रिकॉर्डिंग अगर होगी लेटर ऑन, इफ दे वांट टू सी और समबडी एल्स वांट टू सी, सो दे कैन थिंक अबाउट दीज थिंग्स। तो ये मेरा भी सवाल था कि टू व्हाट एक्सटेंड वी कैन एक्सटेंड, नहीं जी बिल्कुल यही सवाल था जो आप कह चुके हैं। एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? वरना मेरा खालिद परवेज साहब से एक क्वेश्चन है। आज सुबह जो ये इनाग्यूरल सेशन में डॉक्टर अशरफ ने काफी अच्छी बात कही कि इन पाकिस्तान anyone can install any number of pumps of any size anywhere, तो ये पाकिस्तान के बारे में, खास करके ग्राउंड वाटर के बारे में सही है। सो मैं खालिद परवेज साहब से पूछना चाह रहा था कि which of the institute you think, जब इस तरह की वाटर अनार्की है ग्राउंड वाटर की, तो which kind of institute can use the information that Khalid Parvez साहब proposal is offering, तो कौन सा इंस्टीट्यूट उनके सामने है कि जो उसको कर सके? और दूसरा जो उसका सवाल था वो ये था कि to what extent we can extend this information to farmers and common people and help them in their decision about groundwater boring or installations. अगर खालिद परवेज साहब हैं तो काइंडली कुछ रिफ्लेक्ट करें। खालिद साहब बैठे तो हैं?
जी सर, वो यही है, ऑनलाइन आ रहे हैं नजर।
जी, अगर कोई सवाल भी नहीं है, कोई जवाब नहीं दे रहा है, तो आई थिंक इट इज टाइम टू फॉर्मली एंड।
डॉक्टर साहब एक मैं थोड़ा सा अपनी क्वेरी के लिए कि क्या ये जो प्रेजेंटेशंस हैं, बहुत अच्छी इंफॉर्मेशन भी इसमें है, क्या ये हमें अवेलेबल होंगी नेट पे या कहीं, या कोई इनकी कुछ कर रहे हैं ऑर्गेनाइजर इसके लिए?
डॉक्टर साहब ये रिकॉर्डिंग्स जो है ना वो तो अवेलेबल होंगी, उस रिकॉर्डिंग में बाय डिफॉल्ट ये प्रेजेंटेशंस होंगी। अगर जो है आप चाह रहे हैं कि प्रेजेंटेशन इन टर्म्स ऑफ पीपीटी भी हो, तो वी कैन रिक्वेस्ट ऑथर्स, अगर वो
पीपीटी ना भी हो, आप किसी भी फॉर्म में हो, लेकिन ये है कि पब्लिकली किसी जगह पे अवेलेबल होनी चाहिए कि स्टूडेंट्स को अवेलेबल हो, रिसर्चर्स को अवेलेबल हो अगर उन्हें चाहिए।
जी मैं बिल्कुल ये सजेशन देता हूँ, जो मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग है कि ये रिकॉर्डिंग्स जो है ना अवेलेबल होंगी।
सर रिकॉर्डिंग भी होगी और कॉन्फ्रेंस प्रोसीडिंग भी पब्लिश होगी।
ठीक
कॉन्फ्रेंस प्रोसीडिंग।
गुड।
जी, सो अगर कोई और क्वेश्चन नहीं है तो आई वुड लाइक टू थैंक आवर 34 पार्टिसिपेंट्स।
मैंने ये पूछना था कि कॉन्फ्रेंस प्रोसीडिंग्स जो पब्लिश होंगी तो उसकी कॉपीज आप हमें भिजवाएंगे ऑथर्स को?
जी पोस्ट होगी तो सबको जो है ना वो मिल जाएगा कॉपी
फॉर योर रिकॉर्ड, क्योंकि वो कॉपी आपको पता है कि एक यादगार रहती है और एक पब्लिकेशन का एक उसकी वर्थ भी है थोड़ी, तो वो आपको इंशाल्लाह हम जो है ना वो उसको कोरियर करेंगे। राइट डॉक्टर साहब?
जी बिल्कुल सर,
जी सर। तो सीमिंगली हमारे पास 34 पार्टिसिपेंट्स अभी भी बैठे हुए हैं, पता नहीं वो शाये हैं या क्या है। अगर कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं है तो आई वुड फॉर्मली थैंक एवरीबॉडी, ऑल प्रेजेंटर्स, Dr. Rashid Aftab and all our audience to come and join, who came and joined us to today's session. مین کچھ پارٹیسپینٹ نہیں پریزنٹ کر پائے, لیکن اسٹل جو ہے جنہوں نے پریزنٹ کیا وہ پریزنٹیشنیں کافی یوزفل تھیں. ڈیفینیٹلی کافی ٹیکنیکل سائٹس ہیں جیسے ڈاکٹر اشفاق نے کہا کہ ان کی کمرشلائزیشن اور پریکٹیکیبلٹی دیکھیں. ہر کوئی مثلا پینٹ کے چھلکے مین کس طرح سے ڈھونڈے گا, یا ایون واٹر میلن یا لیمن کے چھلکے وہ کہاں سے آئیں گے کہ اتنا مٹیریل اویلیبل ہے. ان کی جو اکنامک ایفیشنسی یا اکنامک ریشنل اکنامک فیزیبلٹی وہ بھی امپورٹنٹ ایکسپیکٹ ہے. اور میں سمجھتا ہوں جب اس طرح کے لیب ایکسپیریمنٹس ہوتے ہیں تو وی آلسو شوڈ فالو اپ دیٹ ریسرچ اینڈ سی how we can make these proposals commercially viable and accessible to everybody. So اس کے ساتھ میں ڈاکٹر یوسفی صاحب کو کہوں گا کہ اگر وہ 2 لفظ آخر میں کہنا چاہیں تو اس کے بعد ہم کنکلوڈ کرتے ہیں. ڈاکٹر یوسفی صاحب آپ.
ڈاکٹر جنید عالم میمن صاحب بہت شکریہ. آپ نے ہمارے میں نے آپ کے ساتھ ایز اے کو ماڈریٹر اور بہت اچھی آپ نے چیزیں وہ ڈیفائن کی. جو ان کا جو کوشچنس تھے آپ کے دیٹ واز کرٹیکل کوشچن, اور اس کو پراپرلی ایڈریس بالکل کرنا چاہیے. اس کے علاوہ آج کی کانفرنس میں آئی مائی سیلف ہم کہتے ہیں دس از اے 2-way لرننگ. تو کافی چیزیں میں نے پرسنلی کافی چیزیں ان پریزنٹیشن سے, کیونکہ میرا تو اتنا وہ بیک گراؤنڈ نہیں ہے واٹر کا, لیکن میں صرف یہ کہنا چاہوں گا کہ کوئی بھی فیلڈ ہم دیکھتے ہیں تو میں تو یہی سمجھ رہا تھا کہ یہی ساری دنیا ہے پانی کا اور یہ سارا کچھ. تو دیٹ واز اے ونڈرفل سیشن and all the presenters very much inspired me from their knowledge, and I appreciate all the presenters, and I also appreciate the listeners جنہوں نے یہ presentation سنی اور اس میں جو ہے نا اپنا وقت دیا. Thank you sir, and I would request Dr. Junaid Alam for the concluding remarks for this session. Sir, please.
کنکلوڈ ہم پہلے ہی کر چکا ہوں میں اپنی طرف سے. آخر میں سب کو تھینک یو کہوں گا اور اس کے ساتھ ہم اس کو ختم کریں گے. تھینک یو ایوری بڈی. تھینک یو. اللہ حافظ.
تھینک یو سر. تھینک یو.